Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeCharis, CPA extraordinaire, coming to you live once again from downtown Bethpage, Long Island, New York, for another amazing episode of How to Win at Business and How to Win at Your Personal Income Taxes. And if you're watching live, please give me a hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay so that I know that people are actually watching. And also, it'll keep you in the thread. If you have any comments, please post them. If you're live, I would love to be interactive with you. I'm getting much better at this. It's only taken 2.5 years, but I actually know how to do the live comments now, and I like to take advantage of it. If any of this resonates with you, if you have a burning desire to talk to me about your business, about your tax issues, please feel free to book a free chat with me. And that's at timewithjoe.com. It's the beginning and the middle and the of tax season for us, for this firm. For you, you only have to deal with your taxes. We're dealing with hundreds of people's business returns, their personal returns, tax issues, business issues, all stuff that I believe I was born to do. Um, uh, I'm here. Hello, Facebook user. Another thing with Facebook is a lot of times they don't tell me who uh, who's commenting. So if you want to if you're brave enough to add your name, if you know me, that's your uh, message. Thank you, Facebook user. So you know that I'm not. Uh, oh, hey, Callie. So this is my friend Callie. How are you? Long time no see. Glad to have you here. And so tonight we're going to talk about a subject that I've been involved with. I hope that you haven't been involved with because it has to do with the IRS's Criminal Division. And I've had the opportunity to work with clients that were under investigation. Believe it or not, one of the firms I worked for was under criminal investigation. I wasn't involved with that. Believe me, as soon as I found out, I was out of there, and I'll tell you how that transpired because it's pretty interesting. I was in charge of handling uh, all of the firm's clients that had tax issues, and they had every kind of tax issue under the sun, from collection cases to IRS audits, uh, offers and compromise, anything under the sun. And that's where I got a lot of my firsthand knowledge and experience about the inner workings of how the IRS really operates. And they don't operate the way people think they do. I can give you one day we'll have an actual workshop, webinar on how the IRS actually works. But what I want to talk about tonight is how they're working today and how they might be targeting you unknowingly. And I want to go back to my experience with the criminal firm, and I'm going to take that thing off so I could talk to you directly. So early in my career, this was 1994. My kids were still young. My daughter was about to. No, my daughter wasn't born. It was actually 1992. So that's how far back this goes. I went to work for this firm. They needed an accountant that was experienced in handling tax audits and tax problems, and that fit my resume. So they hired me, and my job was specifically I was the tax problem resolution officer. Any kind of tax problem that came in, it went to my desk, and I had to resolve them. And like I said, I resolved all of them one way or another. Everything that came to my desk, I handled, and I got, like I said, a firsthand experience on how the IRS actually handles things like auto expenses and meals and entertainment, what they look for, and also got the opportunity to file petitions with the tax court because believe it or not, the IRS does not have the final say. So when notices came in, they came to me, and over the course of a couple of weeks, we got 6 clients that got the same notice, and it said, "Please contact special agent so and so about a tax matter." So what did they do? They went to the firm, they went to me and to handle it. And little did I know, well, soon I found out that the tax matter that they wanted to our clients to contact them was about a small investigation that was being conducted on our firm. What a surprise. So I'll never forget my boss's face when I told him, well, I found out what the tax matter was. And he said, well, what is it? And I said, well, they're investigating you and the firm. And I think it was like a couple of days later, I said, well, I'm out of here. I cannot work here. And I was the only one that the FBI and the IRS did not interview. And that actually scared me for a little while. And I found out that number one, they didn't need to interview me. I had nothing to tell them that would have been of value. I was there for actually less than a year, and they interviewed everyone else that had been working there. And some of them, I don't know what the outcome was, but it wasn't good because some of them were actually helping them perpetrate a massive fraud. One of which had to do with a charity scam. And what they did was they set up phony charities, and they would have their clients write checks out to them and actually take a tax deduction for for uh, the phony charities. And things weren't like they are today. Today you can look up 501c3s if they're legitimate on the internet. They didn't have that back then. People really got away with murder. And the way that another thing that they did was the way that they prepared returns got a lot of their clients audited, and they wound up getting into trouble. But one of the amazing things that I found out was they weren't even a CPA firm. They were at one point owned by a CPA who designed all of these scams, and he retired and sold to 2 of his employees, and neither one of them were CPAs, but they were still out there doing financial statements. They were operating as if they were a CPA firm. So I'm pretty sure they must have been facing state charges, federal charges, all kinds of charges. All I know is I didn't get charged with anything. And a bunch of those clients that they were misserving wound up coming to me as clients. And so that brings me to this. So if you see the first area is what they call abusive return preparer enforcement. So tax preparation firms are under the microscope. I know my firm, as a CPA firm, I have the last couple of years, we have to jump through hoops now. I've had to display my CPA license, and I hope that my team is on this. I have to display my CPA license on our website. We have to disclose uh, our prices, and lo and behold, and this is a good thing. I don't mind doing it. Let me take off that time with Joe. It's annoying me. I don't know. I hope it's not annoying you, but Most tax scams originate with criminal tax preparers. There's a lot of bad there's the incompetent preparers out there, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and I've done YouTube videos on how to find a good preparer, and I could tell you how to vet a bad preparer. Number one, if they don't sign your return, they call those ghost preparers. Okay, if a tax preparer is going to promise you big tax refunds, turn around. Nobody can promise you any kind of tax refund. Okay, so there, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, another way that you can vet out bad preparers is go on the IRS website. I have to be registered with the IRS to prepare tax returns. Not everybody can prepare a tax return anymore. It used to be anybody could prepare a return. Well, you know what? Anybody still can prepare a return, but not legally. Okay. Uh, if you pay a preparer on the return, it says paid preparer. I have to sign every return. Okay, so now things are done electronically, but you have to be cognizant of the fact that just because somebody's a CPA or a tax preparer does not mean that they're legit. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're dealing with a good reputable firm. Why? Because every one of those clients that went to that firm that I had worked for that was under investigation, every one of those clients probably got audited. They were all under suspicion because what a surprise. What a surprise. You're with the firm that got you unbelievable tax return refunds that nobody else could ever get you, and all of a sudden they're in trouble. Well, this is what I was talking about. Uh, you could get sucked into somebody else's problem. You might not be committing any kind of tax fraud, but you can easily get caught up in it. And these are some of the other areas uh, where the IRS is looking. Yes, you can get a replay. Okay, can we get a replay? Every one of my Facebook lives goes up on YouTube. It's being broadcast live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and even Twitter right now. I don't know how to get to them, to be honest with you. But if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, uh, you can get notifications every time I do one of these. So every time I upload a video, they're all up there. A lot of on these topics, and thank you for asking. Uh, so abusive tax schemes. Okay, so again, there's a you hear a lot about these with famous people. I know Wesley Snipes is an actor. He just finished doing. I believe he just finished doing time in jail. Uh, these people come up with these unbelievable schemes where they say, "Oh, you don't have to pay taxes because you're blah blah blah." Well, if somebody comes to you saying you don't have to pay taxes, first of all, I send them to me because if I don't have to pay taxes, I want to be part of that if it's legit. But also, you cannot be a church. I mean, you can be a church, but I had a stockbroker once that asked me if he could be a church so that he didn't have to pay taxes. And I mean, I laugh, but the truth is a lot of people do that. And charities are under scrutiny. So if you were wondering, the answer is no, you can't. You can be a church if you're really a church. You can't be a church just to not pay taxes. That's called tax evasion. Okay, there's tax avoidance, which is legal. That's what I practice. I practice tax avoidance. Okay, that's legal. Tax evasion is you're knowingly doing something to not pay taxes. Okay, and the world has gotten a lot smaller, people. Everything's digitized now. If you ever heard of Jeffrey Snowden, he basically blew the lid off of the fact that they know everything. Let's just get right to the point. If you think you're hiding something from them, if you're doing check cashing places are more regulated than banks. Why? Because that's what people that want to break the law, that want to evade taxes, think that well, you got to give them your name, social security number, photo ID. If you're a business, you got to give them your tax ID number. So don't think that you're getting away with anything. What I'm talking about here are people that actually get caught up in scams and schemes, that unknowingly get caught up and could wind up getting audited themselves. Another area is bankruptcy. So if you if if you get a crooked lawyer that thinks that you're going to skate through some kind of bankruptcy fraud, businesses can file for bankruptcy, and people can think that they're going to get away with stuff, but the IRS is looking at every bankruptcy that's filed. Corporate fraud, again, people think, oh, they're going to set up a corporation. I've actually had clients uh, think that I was going to set up a corporation for them and launder money. I mean, and let me look at you with a straight face. I've had clients that were making millions of dollars running businesses that actually asked me, think about this, they asked me to open up a corporation for them, and they were going to put a check in there. Now, they wanted me to open up the corporation in my name or somebody I know. Just open up a corporation. They were going to put a check in the corporation, and then they expected cash back. I mean, people will ask, and what I said was, first I looked around, and this didn't happen once, it happened a couple of times. I would look around and say, "You're talking to me?" And I would say, "Well, let me think about it." And then they would get a resignation letter from me, and I would tell them, I think you need to hire a criminal tax attorney, because if you don't need them now, you're going to need them later." And then I would tell them, "Don't ever ask your CPA to help you commit tax fraud." Okay. Employment tax enforcement. So this is a big one because a lot of people are trying to evade paying payroll taxes. So there's a lot of schemes that are going on. And also you got to be careful for fly by night payroll companies. This has been going on for decades now. What happens with these payroll companies is they take your money and they don't pay the payroll taxes. Unfortunately, when it comes to payroll taxes, the owner is still held personally liable. So there's companies, I've been involved with one woman, and I felt so bad for her because I couldn't help her. They did this, and the IRS was coming after them, and I'm sure that the IRS feels bad for people, but as a business owner, you are on the hook. You are on the hook if a payroll company absconds with your money. They didn't pay over your taxes. You are still personally liable. Even if you have a corporation, you're not protected. Those are what they call trust fund taxes. So be careful with that. Sales taxes are also trust fund taxes, and that means is you are an agent for the government. Okay, and and you're you're on the hook. Okay, financial institution fraud. Now, this might not have to do with you directly, but what's happening now, and you might be feeling the direct effects of this if you own a business, because banks have been getting hit hard a lot of times. fraudulent checks. When those checks go through, the bank has to cover them, and the IRS will be going after those people if they can find them. So if you are a victim of somebody uh, fraudulent, and I've had clients where I caught them because we're doing bank recs, and I would say, "Hey, what is this check?" It goes through. The bank has to make good on it. So the banks don't like this. They don't like when when they lose money like that. So what they're doing is they're putting up all kinds of roadblocks. So if you're opening up a bank account, banks have been very, very, let's say, sensitive when it comes to new people opening up new bank accounts, because that's what happens. Short story, I have a client, we opened up a charity for them, and the charity had to do uh, with Africa, specifically Kenya. And once they mentioned Africa, all the red flags went up. Uh, the whole process stopped. They had to get board of directors. They had to jump through hoops just to open up a bank account because Africa was mentioned. I didn't know this. My assistant, who knows this kind of stuff, said that there's been a lot of fraud when it comes to not for profits in Africa. So you could see that this is a long list. I'm going to go through these. I don't want to go on for too long. Illegal gaming operations. So guess what? They got Al Capone on tax fraud. If I was his accountant, I would have told him to file returns reporting all the illegal money that he earned, because guess what? They can't use your tax return against you. So his crime was not reporting income. So if you're running a game, if you're running numbers, uh, I don't advise you stay in that business. It's illegal, but at least report the incomes, because they can't get you for tax fraud. Uh, Anytime general fraud investigations, the IRS actually looks at the news and they look for people that have been indicted for bribery, kickbacks. That's why politicians wind up getting into IRS problems, because if they're found of getting kickbacks, a lot of times, well, they forget to report those kickbacks on their tax return, and a lot of times the tax charges are more serious than whatever else that they're fighting. Healthcare fraud. So I know Medicare and Medicaid fraud is rampant. There are companies, and again, I've had clients that got caught up in this. They were criminals. I didn't know it, but they were committing Medicaid fraud. And what that is, if you have somebody that qualifies for Medicaid and you get a home health aid, and they're fudging on the numbers. In other words, if you're getting a home health care aid and you're paying for, let's say, 6 hours, well, if they put in 8 hours unbeknownst to you, that's Medicaid fraud. Okay, so that's another area that is coming under criminal investigation. Identity theft. Guess what? If somebody's stealing your identity and and they're being enriched, well, guess what? They're going to get, not only will they get arrested for identity theft, but they'll get audited by the IRS for criminal activity. International investigations. Now, the the whole world is communicating. They're all talking to each other. They're exchanging. They don't like, other countries don't like the fact that people are stealing money either. They all want their tax revenues. Okay, so money laundering. Again, when I talk about the check cashing, I had a potential client last year that he told me, and his idiot accountant actually told him how to do this. He told him to cash checks to pay his guys off the bucks. Now, The moron, and I call him a moron because this was just blatantly stupid, was is in California. And if you know anything about what's going on in California, California is crucifying people if you're paying independent contractors. That's if you're paying them legitimately. So this guy was cashing over $300,000 worth of checks a year to pay his guys off the books. So once I found this out, what I told him is, not only am I not going to do your taxes for you, but you need to hire a criminal tax attorney, because what you're doing, I said, it's not if, it's when they come knocking on your door. Because if he's doing it to that extent, California's going to be on him like white is on rice, and then he's going to be dealing with the IRS. Okay. Narcotics related investigations. Hey, if you get arrested for drug dealing, guess what? The IRS could come after you. So not only should you not be dealing drugs, you're also committing tax fraud and tax evasion by not reporting the income that you're making. Now, believe it or not, there was a famous heroin dealer. I forgot his name, and I was told this, but I believe it. The guy actually reported sales of narcotics on his personal income tax return, because if he was going down, he wasn't going down for tax evasion. Okay, so now this is a big one for people that aren't filing. And this is one of the reasons why the IRS is hiring over 80,000 agents. Uh, they are sick and tired of trying to vet. They know where you are. Okay, let's get that straight, folks. And I'm going to end it with this: public corruption crimes. I think I've already mentioned that. Questionable refund programs. So, like I said before, if you got a tax preparer that's getting you big refunds that you never saw before, it sounds too good to be true. Look up on the IRS and see if they're actually listed. If you uh, find one of these criminal tax preparers, report them. Report them to the IRS. There is a place on here you can just go to. Just do what I do. Google IRS tax fraud, and uh, you'll find the website. But getting back to the non-filer people, so this is your chance to come clean. Like I said, if you haven't filed returns, there's no reason for you to get caught up in a criminal investigation. You can file your returns now. And now is the time, because the IRS is in all disarray. This is the time. If you have a tax problem, you want to get rid of it now. If you owe money, you want to do an offer in compromise now. Because believe it or not, the IRS has time limits. They can't just say, hey, 10 years ago we think that you committed fraud, we want to look at your. No, they have a 3-year statute of limitations, unless there's fraud involved. But they have to know that there's fraud involved. So if you just file your returns now, you start the statute of limitations. Like I said, all you got to do is file to start the statute of limitations. And it's 3 years from the date you file. Okay, so if you have unfiled returns, please book a chat with me. Everything's completely confidential. We run a no judgment zone. We're like the Planet Fitness of accounting. There's no judgment on our part. We've seen it all. We want to help. We're experienced. We have the resources. We have the tools. So, like I said, I invite you to book a chat with me, time with Joe. There's no obligation. I'm not a salesman. I'm not going to pitch you. And if you're a salesman, please don't book a chat. I'll cut you off. We know how to vet people that are trying to sell. But if you do have a problem, like I said, with your business, with your taxes, do feel free to connect with me. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you can get a lot of this information for free. And that's my story. I'm going to stick with it. God bless. Over.